Hello, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Daniel Gomali. I just wanted to make one last video about the British Championships because basically, yeah, I've talked a lot about it now. Done the video, we did the commentary, and it was quite successful. But obviously, it's time to move on. There's other things in life, but it was obviously a great tournament. Thought it was very well organised. But one thing I wanted to address was the number of players in the tournament and a high possibility of a playoff. Somebody mentioned this to me on Facebook. Marcus Harvey actually is one of the players playing in the tournament. He mentioned this is a slightly worrying trend. There's so many players in the tournament now that you probably need more rounds. So I think maybe going forward there should be like 10 or 11 rounds. Like used to be 11 rounds in the British Chess Championships with a rest day. However, the reason they stopped doing that was because they felt that put a lot of amateur players off playing because you'd have to book 2 weeks accommodation rather than 2 weeks off work rather than one. In theory, you could put 1 week's but still 9 days. So I don't know how that works. Anyway, the problem with if you got like a high entry is the possibility of a playoff is very high. You think about Title Tuesday. Title Tuesday used to have a lot of players. Still got a lot of players now, but used to have so many players, but they brought in the Proctor system, so therefore that put some people off playing. Proctor system is system to detect cheats. But they still have a lot of players, so obviously there's lots of ties, comes down to tie break. The same problem with the British Chess Championships. Because the number of players is so high, 9 rounds isn't enough to necessarily split the winner. In fact, in the last 7 years, I believe that 3 of the years you've had a playoff. That percentage is probably just going to increase. So almost 50% of the time it ends in a playoff, which when you've already been playing for 9 days is not really ideal for any of these players. Very, very tiring. I think though for someone like Peter Robertson, he would have been delighted to get in the playoff. I mean, it's like a push forward for his career, essentially. And Stuart Conquest would have been delighted to get in the playoff. Stuart Conquest was the hero of the Sunday, in leaving Michael Adams aside. He was absolutely a hero, Stuart Conquest. He'd already beaten Treyas on a Saturday. To win on a Sunday, you could tell he was really up for it. He was massively up for it. And to win on a Sunday against Fitchugov, and then, it was two bad positions against Peter Robertson, was an amazing achievement. And then obviously against Michael Adams. Michael Adams was just like on a different level to everybody, really. He's just very, very good, just by a full stop. Just makes very few big mistakes, I'd say. Actually, I'll come back to Peter Robertson. I do actually think that the whole Sharks thing, I always mention that, going out drinking can be a detrimental effect to your chess. However, I feel like with the Sharks, so the Sharks, and in particular Ben Purton, I think you have to give Ben Purton a lot of credit for people like Amit Gartzi and Peter Robertson, how much they've improved. And I think a lot of that is down to the good kind of Thomas Rendell as well. The good kind of team spirit they got there at Sharks. So they brought along these players and they're doing really well in the Foreign CL and they're doing really well in chess tournaments. And I think a lot of that is down to Ben Purton, quite frankly. And so you can give this whole drinking thing a knock, but it also fosters a lot of team spirit, which I think can also help in individual competitions as well, because people are socializing, they're getting to know people, that they're more comfortable around certain people. It's very unpleasant to be at a chess tournament where you don't know anyone, which I've found recently when I played foreign tournaments. I love playing the British. The British is my favourite event of the whole year because the reason why, it's got a great atmosphere. It's a brilliant atmosphere. You go to foreign events, I'll be honest, you don't have the same atmosphere. So anyway, yeah, that was what I wanted to say. I also felt like commentary, we did a really good job. I mean, we had some negative comments as well. Not everyone was happy with what we did, but generally it was positive. I'm not sure if I did a commentary next year though, because I feel like although I did a reasonable job, I felt, and it was mixed. I mean, one thing I would say is I was probably pissed a lot of people off because there were quite a few people I've known for years, very strong players, who blanked me. And I think they were pissed off about some of my comments. So that's something that I've got to address. Maybe I've got to be a little bit less controversial. I just say what I think, and I'll just try to be humorous. But sometimes people miss the humour. So I do that more to the middle. See, this is why we need a technical officer. You know, I'm like a caveman when it comes to technology. We had David Lightfoot on the ground. Myself and Nick Pert are probably not experts in technology, but this guy is really, really good at technology and computers. He did an amazing job. So, you know, I'd say thanks to him. Like, without him, I don't think it would have been anything like as good. The last round we've already got nearly 10k views on the video, which is more than any other video on the English Chess Federation website, which is amazing. In fact, you know, it's like a record number of viewing figures. So the proof is in the pudding. You know, people like the broadcast, I think, overall. But like I say, because I'm a good player, I think if by British standards, I think I'll be competitive in the British Chess Championships. I'm not saying I'd win it, but I would have a chance. I'd have an outside chance. It feels a bit awkward to do the commentary. If it was something like the Norwegian Masters or the Vikings or the World Championships, that's a bit different because players are a lot stronger than me. I wouldn't really have any chance whatsoever of winning it. But I think the British, okay, people like Michael Adams, David Howe, Vichigov, Gawain Jones are stronger, obviously. But, you know, as been shown by people like Peter Roberson, Richard Pert was in contention, Stuart Conquest is in contention. I could get into contention and potentially win it. It's not inconceivable. I really want to win the British at some point during my career, but it's getting harder and harder. I mean, the next year when I play in Warwick, if I do play, I'll already be 50. The youngest player to break through in the modern era was actually Stuart Conquest. So he was trying to win it at 58, which would have been the oldest winner by far in the modern era. I think when he broke through in 2008, it would have been 41. So that's the oldest anyone's broken through and won it for the first time. Obviously, Michael Adams is 53, but he's won it on many occasions before. But it's ironic, actually, that the two finalists in the playoff final were both in their 50s, which goes to show that in chess you can have a long career. Yes, there's very good juniors like Bodhana and Supratit, but also these older players can still be competitive as well. I also got a mention in some newspaper articles. It was the Indian Express and also in the Independent today about Bodhana, because my comments about her being a bit of like a Capablanca type player, Magnus Carlsen type player. So I finally got famous at last. But nice to see that these players are progressing. So I think going forward, we're actually in a very exciting era in English chess, because you've got the young players coming through, like Supratit, like Bodhana, like Shreyas. And then you've got the older players. So a lot of it is about comparing those older players. How long can they stay ahead of the younger crowd? Probably for quite a while, but at some point in the future, they're obviously going to get older and they're not going to live forever. These younger players are going to come through and potentially replace them. I think some of them have got 2,700 plus potential. The current crowd have been over 2,700 in the past, but are they going to get above 2,700 in the near future? It's possible. I mean, Michael Adams is playing a lot of chess now. I think it's not inconceivable. They're only about 40 points short. In fact, Matthew Sadler is the closest, 26.94, but he's inactive. He hasn't played a game for ages. If he came back and played 3 or 4 games, he could be over 2,700. So anyway, it's all in the mix. But what I wanted to say was overall, I think the only way they could improve the British, which is a great tournament, is potentially decrease the likelihood of a playoff by increasing the number of rounds. And if that means you have to play 2 games in one day, then so be it. But I think you need to have more. You've either got a choice. You're either going to have an all-play-all, or, you know, with a select field, with a potential qualifying event. So you could have the major open, could turn into a big qualifier for the main British, where you have, say, 10 players, right? Or you could have, you keep it as it is, but you increase the number of rounds. If they stay the number of rounds as they are, and they can keep bumping up the entry. It's too many players. You know, it's just so hard to get 7.5. I think the lot. Shreyas had a chance. I mean, if he'd beaten Stewart, he was a better with black. He'd have got white against someone like Roberson. He'd have probably been big favourite to get a 7.5 at that point. But yeah, Mickey had black against Gawain. Realistically, that's tough to win. To get to 7.5. So it's very hard to get to 7.5. In my opinion, for any player. So I think the problem is you're going to have too many playoffs over the next few years. So I think they need to increase the number of rounds or find a way to decrease the number of players. Anyway, please leave your comments down below. Did you enjoy the commentary this year? What did you think of the tournament in general? Did you enjoy the tournament if you were playing? And what do you think about my suggestion about increasing the number of... It wasn't my suggestion, actually. That was somebody else. Marcus Harvey, I should give a shout out to him. Anyway, please like and subscribe, and yeah, please leave your comments, otherwise my video won't get promoted on the algorithm.